I've got the confidence to actually do this, and I am confident I can do this, and I will do this. So you're almost kind of telling yourself over and over and over again.
The more self-confidence you have, the easier life gets, and I believe that's the key. It's all about knowing who you're talking to, because every person is different, and with some people you have to like act as a friend, with some people you have to be more professional because they don't know you, but some people are just simply wants to be your mate, innit? Hey people, welcome to our 9th episode, and today we're going to talk about confidence. We treat confidence as a nice to have instead of a must to have, and a famous psychotherapist, Nathaniel Branden, argued that the most emotional or mental problems could be traced all the way down to low self-esteem.
Perfect, yeah, and I think it's about understanding your self-worth, overcoming fear and self-doubt, and also achieving and setting goals for yourself about self-confidence. I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about what it means to create self-confidence for yourself and actually how important it is, really. And I think also from a male perspective as well, bringing that self-confidence out is about knowing yourself fundamentally a bit better.
Absolutely. So when it comes to understanding confidence, what does it mean to you being a confident person?
I think confidence and arrogance are two very different things.
Exactly.
The way in which people might see you, they might say, oh, that you're coming off as arrogant, but I don't think it could. I think when analysing it, are you being confident or are you being arrogant? I think arrogance is not checking the ego. Confidence is about checking the ego and coming across in a way that's not being like I'm the shit, but more that I know my shit.
Yeah,
I'm in control of myself. What about you?
I feel like being confident is just being comfortable in yourself.
Yeah.
As you said, I'm not the shit. How did you say that?
Yeah, like I'm not the shit. Like it's when people say like, oh, I'm the shit.
Yeah, that's it. It's just all about, as I said, being comfortable in yourself and being comfortable in your abilities, not just trying to pretend that like you are that person, but you're not. I feel like when you're being arrogant, it's more like insecurity rather than just confidence.
Absolutely. And like even if you look at self-confidence in the sense of when you're at work, like if you're really good at what you do and you've put in the hard yards and you've put in the graft and you've put in the work, and you're confident in what you do, then you're more than sort of okay to say, yeah, I'm confident in what I do and I'm good at what I do. Yeah. And that comes from
preparation.
Yeah, exactly. And we need that. I feel humans need to have confidence in order to succeed and to be better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all goes down as well. Say for example, if you all the interview that I just had a couple hours ago, I prepared so well for those interviews that I was really, really confident in everything they do. I was confident in my abilities of how I could bring value to the business.
Yeah.
So it's all about, as you said, it's all about preparation and believing in yourself that you can actually do shit.
For sure. And it's okay. I feel if I'm in like a situation where if I'm like closed off or I feel like I'm not displaying confidence, I almost feel like that's worse. And I'm not saying that you have to try and be this big outlandish personality where you're like, oh, look at me, I'm confident. It's like, no, it's better than being shy. I feel, even if it's not even true confidence that you're displaying, like in a situation where you're in an interview, it's far better to even just put on the confidence, even if you don't necessarily feel it.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to just for that moment be, no, I'm confident in what in myself and my abilities. I'm more than capable to do it. Because if you were to in that moment be like, yeah, I'm not necessarily, if I don't know if I'll be good at this, or I'm not confident in my abilities, like no way would they hire you. Why would anyone hire you?
There's a fine line between being confident and being arrogant, and then faking the confidence as well, because sometimes you can fake and people can smell it. Like you just can't see through that person that he's pretending to be confident, whereas he's not. So I think again, it goes back to the feeling. You have to feel secure, confident, and then the rest is going to follow.
How do you think one feels more secure when trying to become more confident?
As in how to become more secure.
Yeah, like if you were to say, if someone was like, I'm really underconfident, and you're saying, well, the idea is to become a bit more secure in yourself, how would you sort of give that person advice to become more secure?
I'm not sure if I'm the best person to give you advice, but I guess I'm feeling quite secure in myself. So it's just being familiar with yourself, knowing yourself. There were times where I wasn't confident, I would say, and now I feel a lot more confident. And again, it all goes back down to start doing martial arts. It's just a pinnacle of the physical pinnacle of self-development, because you become a lot more confident in yourself, in your abilities. You learn a skill, you carry yourself differently, and it's funny because sometimes that I was invited in that birthday, and we sat around the table and we were talking about something, and then one of the people asked if I do martial arts or something. I think she asked. She asked. So why you do kickboxing? I said I do Muay Thai, and then you can see how other people who didn't know that perceive it, looks at you completely different, just because of the fact that you do combat sports is such a powerful thing to have and powerful skill to have, because at the deepest level, at the deepest core, you know that you can do something to people.
Hey guys, thank you so much for making it this far into the podcast. If you have any feedback, then please let us know, as we always want to make this podcast better. So hearing from you is always a pleasure. Please subscribe to all of our platforms, get involved at Triangle Theory. If you've got any comments, or if you want to share any topics that you think that me and Conrad would like to talk about, then please get involved. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to sound arrogant, and I'm not going to like fight people for no reason. It's just I feel like when it comes to these things, at the very core of us, of humans, we feel threatened in a way if the person is more capable of us.
Absolutely. I actually feel whenever I've gone to a martial arts gym, whether it be Muay Thai, boxing or Jiu-Jitsu, there is far less arrogance in the room,
absolutely.
just from people ego checking themselves, knowing their strength and knowing where they sit.
Yeah,
I think really, actually, you're far less likely to you're far less likely to get into a fight.
Yeah,
having studied,
absolutely,
practiced of martial arts. And it's funny because I think it displays confidence because you know your abilities physically.
Yeah,
and also it allows you to continually assess. It's humbling. It's
very humbling. Yeah.
And I think that gives you more confidence, is by humbling yourself. I know that with guys, just from the like testosterone, energy, like kind of all of that shit that you see.
And as well, like when you learn martial arts, when you learn how to fight, you just don't really have anything to prove. You prove everything in the gym, and you get your ass beat. And till this day, I go to the gym, and it's just every time I get beat up. And there's this guy in our gym, Muay Thai gym. His name is David. He's from Colombia, and he's number one in the world in kickboxing. And he fought for a world championship in Glory. Unfortunately, he lost, but arguably he won. So that guy is just the nicest guy I've ever spoken with. He's just such a cool guy. And then once you spar him, it's just not that nice anymore.
Literally.
I mean, it's just it becomes a completely different person.
Yeah.
But as well, like that guy is he's such a cool person. You always talk. He's always smiling. He's always asking like, "How are you?" and when is your next fight? He's just such a nice individual.
Yeah.
But again, then he's just,
and it's developing that self-confidence within the self.
Yeah.
And I feel actually really exercise just in general is a really important
absolutely.
part of the whole confidence process. Even in my journey, like, I wasn't very confident as a kid at all. And I think that was because I didn't have a switched on mind towards exercise. Once I started exercising, because I think really when I first put health as a priority, I was around sort of 17, 18 when I first started going gym and stuff. And that gave me a huge amount of confidence just from a perspective of working on the self, looking good at, I think that's an immediate response you can give yourself is if you feel you're bettering yourself and you can look at yourself in the mirror with a sense of confidence, or I look good, I look better than I did last year.
Yeah.
That's such a big help. That's such a tremendous help. So I really feel that those that want to start a journey of developing more self-confidence, exercise would have to be the first thing on that list, where it's like just get yourself to a position where physically you're feeling a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back to your question, I said try to know yourself, but it's a very cliche thing to say, because if the person doesn't know himself, nor do I know, but I think I'm a lot more familiar with who I am as I was 7 or 6 years ago. But as you said, exercise is the perfect confidence boost. You start to exercise and you think completely differently, and then you, as you said, you look completely different. And on top of that, if you learn a skill as martial arts as well, it's just you not only look good, but then you are a lot more capable of certain things. And I'm not shitting on people who love gym. It's like you choose your own exercise exercise way way of doing exercise. Even if you're doing tennis, if you like it, it's perfectly fine. For me, it was martial arts, and I feel that's why I'm always pushing that.
It's really
Start
cool
doing martial arts
because you're building self-esteem. I also think the other really important thing on that list as well when it comes to building self-esteem and confidence is you're surrounding yourself with more people socially, which again, martial arts allows you to do. You're mucking in with other people that like the same things as you. So again, it's building more confidence with people around you where you all have the one thing in common, which might be a sport, or if it's another recreational activity you like doing, whether that be reading, drawing, painting, whatever. If you're surrounding yourself with people that like the same things that you, that in turn is making you more self-confident in what you're doing. The friend. So I can really see how martial arts really quickly allows you to build that confidence quite rapidly.
Yeah, I've read the book. He said the book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And it was talking about how to build a self-confidence as well. And one of the things, as we mentioned, it was exercise and surrounding yourself with other men in a specific activity. And he said martial arts is just a perfect example because mainly men doing martial arts. It depends which martial art, to be honest, but say a martial art like jiu-jitsu. There's not many women doing that because it's just all sweaty men and it's and just by surrounding yourself with other men, being in that tribe, a cult, you could call it, builds that confidence and social acceptance, I would say.
Because would you say you're quite an extroverted or introverted person?
I'm introverted. Yeah, I mean, I did. Have you ever heard of Myers-Briggs personality test?
Yeah, that's something you can do online. I've never actually.
So
I've actually done it myself.
Yeah, you can do it whenever you want, but apparently, like you do that test and it tells like your personality traits, and I'm apparently 52% introverted and 48% extroverted.
That's interesting.
But I would say I feel like I'm introverted, even though sometimes it feels like I can be loud and quite talkative and when I have a lot of people, but I love having conversations one-to-one like we're having right now. I feel that's why podcast resonates with me so well, because it's just two of us talking about a specific topic, and if that would be more than 3 people, more than 4 people, I would feel like I'm not really enjoying it probably.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. What about yourself? Are you introverted
I-
or extroverted?
I would say, yeah, massively introverted. Like, I
Yeah.
way prefer being more sort of within myself.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I can be extroverted. I can turn that on
Yeah.
when I want to. Like, if I'm at a social situation, I feel I can be extroverted, but normally I will just listen and I won't really interject or try and make myself known, if that makes sense. I'll more or less try and stay a bit more in the background. I won't ever, which is, again, something maybe that I need to work on a bit more, but I do think that the majority of the time I'm way more sort of focusing on... I've just always been that way. I've always wanted to be a bit more... I've just not really been that person that needs to go out all the time and have this like extroverted personality where I've got all these people around me. I very much am like the same as you. Prefer one-to-one conversations. Not a big party person.
Yeah, remember that time when we met in a coffee shop? That's how we started the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been talking for like 4 hours straight about stuff, but it was so profound and so nice. I didn't really want to go to big spaces with people, and then that's the thing. Like, I feel that's why I'm not enjoying clubs as much, even though I used to love party. When I think of it on it back now, I don't think I just enjoyed the good time, but not really the crowded spaces.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy spending time by myself. I think because when I'm thinking eventually I'll have to move in with my girlfriend, and then feel like, how is it going to be? Because like, I love
sharing
having
space.
I love having that my space. Just I can just sit down watch YouTube for like 5 hours about aliens and that, and I really don't care about anything else, but just love that space of me, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard sharing. It's hard sharing a space. Like, I lived with an ex-partner of mine for like a very short period of time, and it didn't work because...
But it also depends, I think, sorry if I got
it
also depends on what sort of partner you have. If your partner is very extroverted,
well, that was the thing.
That can be a big problem. Because
I've always been the type of person that will try and least draw attention to myself. Like, I which has been quite interesting with this podcast, because it's kind of making a noise socially, posting about myself, putting myself out there in terms of my beliefs, my values, what I feel, what I think. Like, you can get a pretty good understanding of who I am just from doing this. And I've always been the kind of person that doesn't like attention, or will try, even when it comes to birthdays as well, which I'm really lucky being a twin because I share that burden. But I hated the idea of having this like big birthday. Yeah, because it kind of just meant that it was all on me. And I don't think necessarily that's a self-confidence issue. I think it's just more of a thing where I just will try. I would rather avoid it than being like, oh, look at me, I want the spotlight. I've had no desire doing that. There are some people that love it, and I'm more than happy for them to have that.
Yeah, talking about birthdays, like, it was my birthday last week, and my girlfriend made a little surprise, and she's like, what do you want to do? I was like, honestly, I just want to wake up late, I'll go training, I'll come back, and I just want to chill. Like, I don't want anything. I don't want to go for walks. I don't want to go for dinners. I just want to like have snacks and just chill. That's all I want.
Yeah, man.
And that's it, man. I'm not fussy. Like, that's perfect for me. That's an introverted.
I think there's like confidence in that, because when you've got the confidence within yourself that you don't seek validation of having this big.
Exactly.
It kind of shows how much self-confidence you have with yourself, that you're like, yeah, I just want to do me. I just want to be me. I just want to be with me. I don't have to make this big song and dance and pretend to be someone I'm not.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really powerful thing. It's like with me and Charlie when we recently went on holiday. I didn't post one photo on Instagram. I didn't post.
That's it, man.
I didn't post anything because and I wasn't trying to not do it. It was to the end of the holiday, and Charlie was like, "Oh, we didn't even say anything or post anything," and I was like, "Damn, that's actually really cool."
It's really cool,
because I felt like I didn't need to say what I was doing.
That I'm away, or like
the thing with social media, it's always smoke and mirrors, and you'll always see a highlight reel. And I sometimes look at it and I'm like, wow, maybe that person's quite underconfident and needs to just show off all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's quite a lot of power to be like, actually, I'm just doing my own thing and that's okay. I don't want to have this big elaborate lifestyle and show off all the time.
Yeah.
And I think there is self-confidence deep down within that's just shows that.
Yeah. What types of confidence there are, do you reckon? We did some research, actually, while I'm asking. We did some research, so it's confidence and expertise, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Social confidence, physical confidence, as we mentioned as well, and confidence in your self-worth. I think that's really interesting because it goes down to three components. I looked into that a little bit. So self-efficacy, I've never heard that term before, which is really interesting. Self-esteem, and then there is self-confidence. So self-efficacy, I'm gonna read from the sheet a little bit because I found some research. So is self-efficacy, it's an individual's beliefs about their capacity to influence the events in their own lives, and self-efficacy is rooted in beliefs about an individual's capabilities to handle future situations, which is interesting because self-esteem is more about so self-efficacy is more about forward-looking belief, whereas self-esteem is more of a present, which I found really interesting. And really self-confidence is just essentially being confident in your abilities.
So it's with self-efficacy, it's more about the confidence within yourself that you can shape the future.
Yeah, so basically, as an example, I think McGregor is a perfect example of self-efficacy because he used to come and he's like, I'm going to knock him out in the first round, and then he just goes and do it. Like, he's a confidence, but at the same time, he was just so confident in his future situations.
Yeah.
He just basically knew that that's what's going to happen.
Which is so interesting because there's this power, people, I think there's this sort of woke, this movement towards manifesting. And you can either say that that's quite woo-woo or there is power behind it. And I do feel there is power behind manifesting because it gives you the self-confidence and self-belief that you can and achieve something. It's not necessarily saying that I'm going to close my eyes and meditate and then all of a sudden things are going to happen. Yeah. It's kind of telling yourself and your subconscious that I've got the confidence to actually do this and I am confident I can do this and I will do this. So you're almost kind of telling yourself over and over and over again. And I believe that your subconscious is listening to that and then doing it. And then you're doing those actions. Because if you put yourself in that frame of mind, you're building that self-confidence and self-esteem.
Belief.
And I do think that self-belief turns into reality. I really do. I don't think it's just because the universe grants you powers, and I think it's more sort of about having that confidence with yourself.
Yeah, it's a good point because I think that was the last podcast when we spoke about identity shift. So it's all about starting to reprogramming yourself that you actually believe in yourself or in the things, and that person that doesn't believe eventually starts to believe in it, and that's how you shift that identity, and people naturally going to view you as a completely different person because you're not really the same person anymore. You from the person you didn't believe in yourself, you start to believe in it, and that's how you shift that identity, I guess, by reprogramming yourself.
What were you like growing up, sort of, let's say, in your early teens, sort of coming from like early teens, that period between like 12, 13 to 18, how would you describe yourself confidence-wise from there, or young adolescence even?
Well, I was a class clown, so
So you had some confidence there.
yeah, I would say I was a confident. So it's an interesting question because I would say I was a confident person, but then when I moved to the UK, I was very shy at first. So, and then I realized that I'm only confident around the people that I know. So in school, I knew everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in my class. And I didn't really care about making a joke here and there because I know them for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So all of them, majority of them are my friends, and then the rest of them is just my classmates that I know for a long time. So yes, I acted as a confident person, and I felt confident because I was making jokes and everyone liked me, and it was funny, man. It was just
You didn't have this fear of judgment, maybe, as well.
Not really. I think, yeah, not really. Even though if I'm saying something stupid, people eventually laugh, and then was like, well, I'm just gonna keep on doing it. But then when I moved to the UK, that's why it started, because it's a new language, it's not only new language, but a different way of thinking in a way.
New culture to understand.
It's a new culture, completely new culture. And when I go to like jiu-jitsu, I can't really make the same jokes from Lithuania because it just
doesn't make sense.
sounds dumb, innit?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, oh shit, I'm not really that confident person anymore. So I think that's how I started to know myself a bit more, and then I realized that I'm not actually extroverted, because I always thought I'm extroverted, and then I realized I'm introverted.
Do you think moving to a new country gave you more self-confidence?
Yes, absolutely. Because I just got to know myself a lot more, spend a lot of time by myself. So at first, my friend and I, we lived together, and then he moved out with his girlfriend, and I was just by myself for like a year or so. But like I didn't have any friends, just work back home. I was going to like jiu-jitsu and that, but still like no one really talked to me, nor I spoke with anyone as well, because just didn't know how to interact with people.
Do you believe that you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone to create more self-confidence for yourself?
Ooh. Yeah, well, it comes from fear, I guess. So the next episode we're gonna talk is gonna be about fear. We're going to expand on it a bit more, but then I guess facing your fears creates that confidence. So when you overcoming them, you start to realize that like, oh, I'm capable of doing things, and that fear diminishes.
Yeah.
While self-confidence was the opposite of diminishes.
Because of the opposite of diminishing.
Yeah.
Diminishing is like shrinking, so increasing.
Yeah. So yeah, while self-confidence is increasing, so
yeah.
So it's like a pendulum.
Because I believe to kind of fast track developing more self-confidence is to kind of look at adversity head on and give yourself the confidence that you will get through it, and it's shifting the mindset where it's like, I won't let this consume me, but I will just tackle it head on, and I will survive, and this will create more confidence. For like, if you get through an issue or a problem, that has to increase your ability within yourself, that you believe that you can achieve other things. Like, you look back at the things that you thought that you couldn't get through, and you got through them, and that you'll look at it and be like, well, if I got through that, I can get through this.
Yeah.
Creates more confidence, right?
Yeah, I guess it's all about building evidence as well.
Absolutely. It's having a portfolio of challenges where you're like, well, look what I've got through.
Yeah, exactly. When I was doing a therapy, and it's really interesting because when I was in my previous job, I felt like I'm always going to get sacked. I just had this thought like, I'm gonna get sacked. I'm gonna get sacked. And I kept on saying that to myself. And then I was talking to my therapist, and he's like, "Why are you saying that all the time?" And And I said, I feel like I'm not good enough and that's how I'm going to get sacked. And he said, well, where's the evidence that you're not good enough? And then the evidence was like every time we have a feedback session with my managers, they say like, oh, you're like really good. Like, we're really happy to have you. But then still after a couple of weeks, I go back to the same. And it took me a 3 or 4 good sessions to realize that, no, like I need evidence to feel both ways, good and bad. Like if I'm feeling that I'm gonna get sacked, I need evidence to see that I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if I'm doing well, I need the evidence, and then I can project that on my future success as well, because I have the evidence already here. Like I did that before and I can do it again. Hey guys, your feedback is very important. And no, this is not an advertisement. Actually, what I'm asking from you is to leave a comment below what you liked and most importantly, what you disliked about this episode, because we can improve on the next episodes and we can make a better content for you to listen. Give us also a topics you'd like to us talking about, and we can prepare, do your research and talk about it on the next episodes. Thank you. So yeah, it's all about stacking as much evidence as possible. And alternatively, when you're feeling bad, having that evidence or like thinking about where is the evidence that I'm not good enough.
Absolutely, because if ever I have self-doubt in my mind, or if I'm feeling like I'm not worthy or good enough, or I'm not feeling very confident,
Yeah.
I do try and look back at what I have achieved.
Yeah. What are you the most proud of your achievements?
Good question. Like I would say recently, this podcast, I'm so proud of it because
that's
it was something that I wanted to do that I never thought I could do, and can now look at that being like, and that is giving me more confidence. Also, sitting here at episode 9 in comparison to episode 1, I'm far more confident, feel a lot more comfortable, and I do think it is about going, well, I'm just putting myself out there and just trying things, and that gives you confidence.
Yeah, it does.
And if anyone shits on it or hates it, well, it's like, well, I'm just doing it. There's no rules to this. And I if anyone asks me now, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I've got this really cool project that I'm really passionate about. And people see that and they're like, man, this guy's confident, he's got it. I'd say biggest achievement is obviously like starting my business.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
doing that full time and earning a salary off that is a massive, huge achievement and something that I'm extremely proud of.
So how would you say because I'm pretty sure you got times when, as an example, I'm not sure if that happened to you, but like when you started this podcast, do you feel like, did you feel any self-doubt, and how did you remind yourself that you are capable of things?
Like I feel self-doubt all the time. Like when the self-doubt comes in about the business or anything like that, I feel it and I feel it come in, and then I try and tell myself, well, if I've got through that, I can get through this. And even if I look at worst case scenarios of like planning, emergency planning, I try and kick that worry down the road until it actually becomes a serious problem. But like with the podcast example, self-doubt was when we were struggling to find someone to help edit our videos, and then it was finding the right space, all of that where you're thinking like, oh, maybe. But to be honest, I haven't really had that much self-doubt with this, because I know that you and I think very similarly in the sense that when it's a problem, it's a good opportunity to be able to just go through it. And when it comes to this podcast, it's really understanding the why in which I want to do it. So I enjoy doing this because I enjoy sitting down here talking about topics.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, that's the fun part. And as long as I keep doing any challenges that surround this podcast that allow me to sit down and do this, then it's not a challenge. It's just an opportunity for me to be able to like continually be in this position where I like to be, which is sat in this chair. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to self-doubt, I know that I can do it. It's just continuing to plow through it.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I'm very proud that I keep on. There are times where I'm doubting myself and not capabilities, but my values in a way. I feel like, am I actually that person, or I'm just pretending to be one? And all right, one of the things that I'm really proud of last year was that I remember I kept on thinking, like, what would happen if I would find a lot of money, but would know who that money belongs to? Like, would I take it, or would I actually give the money back? And I always thought about it. And then once I remember I was sitting on a tube, and I was sitting on a tube with my mum, and there was only two people in front of us sitting, and someone left the bag, like literally next to me. I was like, "Mum, is that your bag?" She's like, "No." So I was like, "Fuck." I'm not sure if I should take it or should I leave it. I was like, well, if I'm gonna leave it, someone else is gonna take it. If I'm gonna take it, maybe they're gonna start to like blame me that I stole it. And I was like, fuck it, I'll take it. So I took it with me, and then I found this, mate, in that bag there was literally a laptop, a phone, bank cards, driving license. There's literally everything. That woman left everything there. And so I took her phone out, and then I saw that she was born, I forgot when she was born, but it was like 1989 as an example. So I typed in 1989 on her phone, and it unlocked. I was like, oh my God, like I actually unlocked it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I messaged her dad and mom. They're like, I found your daughter's belongings. If you need a bag, like, when you need a bag, just give me a call. And I sent him my number, and then I met that girl, and I gave everything back. And it was just, she brought me like a bag of chocolates, which was really nice. But then
that's really sweet.
After that, I just realized, yeah, I am that person, and that made me really, really, really proud of myself. So it's not an achievement, but like it's like confirmation of who I am as a person, I think.
For sure. And I think having that confirmation of values that you hold dear to yourself allow you to build more confidence within yourself. That
exactly.
This person. And I think it comes to living authentically to yourself, being true to yourself, being at one with who you are, and living in accordance with your values. Like, you'll know if you were to see someone that stole that bag, you'd know that goes against your values, and then you'll be like, that's not someone I want to necessarily associate myself with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a really good test, and I do think that the universe tests your morals and tests your values to help you understand who you are. So it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, that was a really, I saw it as a test because I found it was like, well, what else I'm gonna do with it? I could take it to like shops and sell it online, and maybe earn like 100 quid or something from all of it. But then I was like, is it worth it? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So it was a really cool confirmation about myself. Another thing, how to increase the confidence, I would say. I just remember this. Have you heard of cognitive behavioral therapy?
I have heard of it, but
where you approach the problem by aiming very low. So as an example, take this podcast, and imagine if I would be terrified of talking in front of a camera, which I was actually when I started working in social media marketing. I used to send video messages to business owners. So it's kind of like a different way of standing out of all the marketers. And I remember I shot that video. I was like, there's no way I'm sending it, because I was just so terrified of talking in it in the first place, and then re-listening.
Yeah, it's savage.
Yeah. As well, like I was doing the timestamps today for the podcast, and I was just listening to more. I was like, oh,
I personally hate it.
It's really hard, man. It's really, really hard. But it gets easier. So I was recording these videos, and at first it was really, really hard, but then I slowly started to understand it's just a video, you know. So the way I would approach it if you, as an example, if you're afraid of, if you really want to do a podcast, but you kind of stopping yourself from that. So it's all about visualizing first, just putting yourself into the shoes, and visualize that you doing a podcast. And then the second thing would be maybe recording yourself, maybe just looking at the camera without pressing recording, and then just talking into the camera. The third thing could be just recording your voice without actually filming it, and then film it and maybe watch it yourself for like 5 seconds, then increase to 10, 15 or 20, and then maybe record it and then send it to your best mate to watch it. And just aim low enough, and do it as long as you feel uncomfortable, and then as long as you feel comfortable, and then once you feel very comfortable with the exact exercise, as an example, shooting yourself a video, maybe talk into the mic, maybe talk in front of the camera, and then when it comes to posting, send it to your mate. And then it's all about these slow, so you have the big problem, and just cut it in as many small pieces as you can, and then try to move one bit by bit.
It's a really good point, because watching yourself back, you look at the way in which you display yourself.
Yeah.
And I think body language is such an important way, because it's a big way of how we communicate. Is not necessarily the context of what we say, but more the actions and how we speak it. Like, so using hand gestures, eye contact, the tonalities of our voice.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the human is reading all of that, not necessarily the actual words.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting you say that, because when my brother Charlie and I were doing videos, like cooking videos with Dosmas and just other stuff on like Instagram, and I always used to feel really underconfident before posting it, because I hated the way I looked on the screen and I hated the way I sounded. And there were some times I refrained away from posting it at all, and I was always like, why am I so afraid of just putting it out there? And it was sort of like caring about what other people think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was the self-confidence I had that was... It was feeling underconfident of the fear of other people's judgment, and like really listening to that. And I was like, fuck, I really need to get over that. Like, no one cares. No one cares, because they're so fixated on their own issues, of course. Because I'm not thinking about everyone else's content or what they're doing day to day. I'm like more fixated on my shit, obviously. And I had to keep telling myself that. And it wasn't until that book, Mark Manson, The Simple Art of Not Giving a Fuck, where I was just like, I threw it all out, and I was like, okay, if anyone says, oh, your content, I was like, fine, fuck it. I don't. You just kind of have to have this sort of mentality which is really hard to develop, and it took me so long. And every time I post a video, I used to literally post it and just put my phone down, and I wouldn't look at it for like an hour, because I was so cringed out.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh man, what have I done? And then like people would like it, and I was like, oh man, it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And like people would be like, oh my god, I saw your video, and I'm like, please don't talk about it. Like,
yeah.
I used to, and that was really upset. Like that just shows like, fuck, I really don't feel really underconfident about it.
Yeah.
There's something about myself that I didn't like. And yeah, it's really hard to develop that self-confidence within yourself. But I do think it's just about being consistent with it and keep being authentic. And now I'm like, cool, yeah, do it.
I mean, and the life is so much easier, isn't it? Like, you're just not in your hand anymore.
Yeah.
You just post, and
that's it.
It is what it is. And it's not only with posting, it's just with everything you...
With everything you do.
With everything you do. The more self-confidence you have, the easier life gets, and the easier life will get. And that's... I believe that's the key. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, it's not a nice to have, it's a must to have in everything you do. Because if you want to start a business, or if you want to find this job, and if you will come as if you approach the problem without confidence, you just gonna be lacking of self-belief, I would say.
Yeah. I think as you get older, you increase your self-confidence.
Yeah,
By
absolutely.
the time you're 40, you're like, I don't give a shit.
Well, that's it,
Like,
because you know yourself a lot better. I think that's the key, just to knowing yourself as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, no one going to know ourselves fully. There's always learning experience, and you find about yourself something new every single time. But eventually, the more knowledge you have about yourself and how you behave, the more self-confident you'll become.
And it's rewiring your self-perception of
Yeah.
yourself and shifting your mindset towards a more confident self-perception and embracing yourself as unique.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's unique.
Yeah.
And the more you understand yourself and love yourself from a unique perspective, it allows you to be yourself more, which will only develop more confidence. And I think for those that are sort of in their 20s that aren't very confident, it's like now's the time for you to really sort of learn and understand and develop yourself, so that when it comes to like later on in life, you're just like, I don't give a bollocks.
Well, you mentioned about the age, but it's a bit off topic, sorry. But
No,
I checked our Spotify audience, and 40% was between 20 and 30,
That's really
and
interesting.
then 40% was 60 plus.
No way.
Yeah,
Damn.
which was really, I was like, oh wow, that's very,
really cool.
it's really cool, man.
Yeah,
really,
that's
really,
really,
cool.
really cool.
Hopefully they agree with what we say, because I guess all the people knows better.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of experience in that.
Yeah.
But I remember as a teenager, I was really underconfident, and I used to hate drawing attention to myself. And I would always I was a bench warmer, really.
Mhm.
Like, I hated participating in team sports. I was like very much like, nah, I don't want to do that. It's kind of just kept to myself. And it wasn't until I got my first job that I started developing a bit more confidence for myself, because I was kind of working for myself, earning a bit of money, which gave me a bit more confidence and gave me a bit more sort of freedom. And freedom is something that I've always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that allowed me to have a bit more choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe when you have more choice and you have more freedom to make choices for yourself, it helps with confidence massively. And that was for my own personal journey, which is why I never went to university or school. I was just, I just want to create more freedom for myself, because I know that's a way for me to be able to be more confident and display more confidence.
Just follow yourself, right?
Just follow yourself. And I remember I went for an interview once, and I wasn't doing very well in this interview at all. And the guy that I was interviewing with actually stopped the interview and was like, "You're not going to get the job." And I was like, okay, cool. But he was like, I will give you some tips on how to interview. And we must have chatted for like maybe an hour and a half about sort of how I came across in it. And he was sort of saying, first of all, you want to sit in a neutral position, because I couldn't even hold eye contact. I couldn't even look at someone in the face. I was just really like, yeah, I was just wasn't capable to have like a engaging conversation, because I was worried about constantly what the other person thought of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helped me, because he was basically saying like, you need to remain and it was a huge learning tool for me, because this was the first time someone had said that this is how you're coming across. Because before that I had no idea how I was coming across. That was just me. And I was like, okay, this is something I do really need to work on. And just by having a straight back, being in a position where, because he was like, how do you feel now? And I was like, yeah, I feel much better just by changing my posture, just by changing the way in which I communicate. And it's all a part of the process in order to build a bit more self-esteem, is having a bit more of that like self-assurance.
Yeah.
And being more decisive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's again, it's very I think it's a very crucial point here, because first off, you were willing to listen for the feedback, even though he said you're not going to get a job.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And like a lot of people would just have left. Like, what's the point of me sitting here? Like, I'm not really interested in feedback, but you stayed, and that's how you improve. You listen to feedback, and then you iterate on the problem, and you're not doing the same mistake again. And that's how we build self-confidence.
Totally. And the other thing that sort of changed my journey massively, like you were sort of saying, martial arts was a huge impact for you and how you develop confidence. Hospitality for me was just that one thing, that one industry that changed my life massively.
Mm-hmm.
When you serve someone, whether it be in a bar, coffee shop, front of house, waiter. My first job as a waiter, I was terrible at it. My first job, again, because I had no self-confidence. But by the end of that job, after a year and a half's time, I was good at my job, and I remember I dreaded going to work like the first month because the customers with complaints or issues, like, I just was really not a people person. But that job helped me so much with communication with people. And for those that have worked in 100%, if I was to have children, I'd be like, you're getting a job in a hospitality business. Whether it's
straight into the fire.
It's so humbling for so many reasons, because you're doing like hard grafting work and you're serving others. And I don't think that there's anything more humbling than to serve.
Yeah.
And that gave me so much more confidence being in a people orientated business, which is what hospitality is. It's providing a service. It's providing this, elevating someone's evening lunch or whatever it might be. And by doing that, you have to come across in a way that's like incredibly engaging. And that was just such a game changer for me, was being able to like wait to tables and take orders, and people would come back and be like, thank you so much for the service, like here's a tip, or you looked after us really well. And that gave me more confidence as a person. And then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I can talk to people, I am engaging, I can start a conversation, I can think on my feet, because it's also about being intuitive in conversation as well. Like with this podcast, we've got research and set things that we want to talk about, but there's also room for that engaging.
We don't really follow the research as much, I guess. Now it's very, very conversational podcast.
But I think that comes from
experience
and confidence within yourself, that you know and understand and engage a conversation and hold it and
absolutely
ask the question. There's so much to be said for that. And I think for me, hospitality was just one of those particular industries that just took me from like emo kid at like 13 to like
you were emo?
Massively, this like huge underconfident.
I can't even imagine you like that.
Yeah, man, used to like paint my nails.
Do you have pictures?
Not on social media anymore.
No, but like personal.
Yeah, I'll show
Google
you.
Drive.
I'll show
mate,
you.
I have to show.
Yeah, man, I used to have like eyeliner on, the whole shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man, I was like die hard.
Oh my god.
Painting my nails, like, proper.
There's a lot of dudes painting their nails.
Yeah,
like, it's
I
fine
mean,
now.
even now I still do it, but like, dude, like proper, like all over the fucking, like die hard fucking. It was hilarious.
Oh, that's crazy.
But if you take this underconfident emo skater kid to then sort of where I'm at now, it's night and day.
Oh, mate, I have to see that. I can't even believe that.
But like going from that, I owe a lot, so much to the industry that I'm in now, because it really helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So much better.
Oh, for you, hospitality, for me, would be sales. Getting into sales when I knew nothing is just so humbling, because you get rejected. You get rejection after rejection after rejection, and it's just no. There's always like, no, fuck you, no. There's literally, I had a guy, like, I used to cold call, and then he's like, fuck off, mate, like, he's just
really,
and he's just like, all right, next one. And you just have to keep on calling, innit? So it's very humbling, but at the same time, I learned how to talk with people and interact with people and how to connect with people, and now it's just very natural, I guess. It's all about knowing who you're talking to, because every person is different, and with some people you have to like act as a friend, with some people you have to be more professional because they don't like know you, but some people are just simply wants to be your mate, innit? So it's all about from the get-go knowing how I'm gonna talk to that person.
Yeah. No, so it's interesting because sales is also a people business.
Yeah, absolutely, man. They trust you before they buy in your product, innit? So you have to be trustable to sell that product.
Because it's getting yourself across.
Yeah,
And when I was in the yachting industry, when I first went to the South, because originally I was going to join the Navy, and then I found online.
You wanted to join the Navy?
Yeah,
mate, I'm finding so many things about you today.
Emo kid that wanted to be in the Navy, bro. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. But I remember it is pretty savage, yeah. Like honestly, I went to the whole like open day, everything. It was nuts. Did all my applications, everything. I had to like go to, when I was in college, I had to redo like some of my GCSEs if I was going to do it, and then I was like, I'm not doing this. Anyway, long story short, found out about the super yacht industry, which was another game changer for me, because with the super yacht industry, I had experience in hospitality, so the idea was to become either a steward or a deckhand. And I remember I told Charlie, I was like, I'm going to go to the south of France, and I'm going to try and get a job on board this yacht or yachts in the south of France. And I was like, I really think you should do it as a chef. So we both flew out. And I even remember going up to my mum, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the south of France. And she was like, when are you going? I was like, I've booked a flight for Monday. And I don't really know when we're going to be coming back, because these boats kind of cruise around the world.
But did you get the job already? Or
well, this is the thing. So when I flew to, no, I didn't have a job lined up or anything.
Oh.
So in Antibes, there you can stay in a crew house, and these crew houses are like filled with crew trying to get jobs on these boats. So you kind of make up a CV. You have to do like some courses in sailing. There's like a health and safety course you do. It's like an STCW 95. It's like a week's training course. You have to do like a health assessment. And anyway, did all of that, and because I saved up and did it, and then I had enough in my savings to survive like 9 weeks, like 8 to 9 weeks in France to try and get a job on board one of these boats. And I would go from like La Ciotat, which is like really not far from like it was like basically like Marseille all the way up to like Italy essentially. And you could get a train all the way through it, and you would stop off at these different docks where these boats were, or these different ports, and you'd have to try and contact, you'd like ring the doorbell, and you'd be like, is there a chief stewardess or bosun or chief officer I can speak to, because I'm really interested in getting a job. And you'd see like a whole stack of CVs of all these other people that have dropped their CVs off, because it's called dock walking.
Yeah. So like a lot of people do that.
And you're basically selling yourself and being like, this is why you should hire me to get a job on this boat. You can go the other way, which is going to career agents that can place you for a job, but you always need experience. And because I had no previous experience, it's really about sort of like networking. And that was really kind of where I started to develop the understanding of like, okay, I've got to try and sell myself here and try and persuade this person why they should hire me. And that helped me develop.
So how did you get at the end? Like, I'm fascinated about the story.
How did I get the job? You start doing like day work, so you can be like, I'll work for the day.
But did you eventually ring to someone and
I eventually got a job. Yeah, so I eventually gave my CV, and they were like, oh, we're looking for a temporary position for like 3 months. And you're like, yeah, I'll take it.
Oh, right.
Because any experience you can get, you're far more likely to get another job, which is better. So because I was quite underconfident, because I was like, fuck man, there's so many other guys that got way more experience than me. They've got way more like sailing experience than me, but you kind of almost be like, no, I can do it. I can be better. I just got to like sell myself better. And the thing with that industry is it's very networky. It's very kind of like who you know. People get pissed, and it's quite like a social industry. So I knew that if I just was focused and just a bit more persistent, I could get a job quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie got a job before me because he was a chef, and we ended up like towards the end of it getting on the same boat together, which is great. But
also, at first you were sailing on different boats.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But the point I'm trying to make was that it gave me, even though I was extremely underconfident and completely out of my comfort zone,
Yeah,
I knew that I had to try and understand myself a bit better in order to sell myself.
Yeah.
Why people should hire me. And that was a really good test and a really good way for me to start building into that, feeding into that. And then when I got a job, I was like, yeah, I can do this. It was like one of those things to add to the portfolio.
Evidence, innit?
Evidence that someone did hire me because
That's
I
it.
was able to persuade them that
Exactly, man.
I'm good
That's
at that.
fascinating, man. I didn't know you actually, because I didn't even know you had the story. How did you get into the arts? And
it was weird. Yeah, it was back then. It was a bit more different. Than
it's very ballsy though. As in going to France,
because no one
knocking
else
on the doors.
No one else. I knew no one else that had done it.
Yeah.
I didn't know who to ask. I had no one tell me how to get a job on a boat because I didn't know anyone. So I just flew out, got into this crew house, started talking to people about sort of how do you do it. And they're just like, you just have to do dock walking. And I was like, well, what is dock walking? And they're like, you literally have to walk a dock with a CV and try and get someone's attention and be like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Is there any positions going? And they're like, well, yeah, we might have some day work, or potentially after the season, you're like, well, fuck, I need a job now. I'm running out of money. And sometimes you keep going back. And I went back to the same boat like 5 times. And after a while, they were like, do you know what? We'll pay you 170 euros to wash down for a day. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. That's like enough money for another day. Like,
Yeah. Mate, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I just had to be persistent. But I remember actually, this was like my 5th week in, and there was like bars and auntie where you can kind of like socialize and space to get pissed. And this girl came up to me and she was like, oh, you handed your CV to me a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, at this point, I was like, yeah, I guess so. I handed my CV out to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, you actually came across really, really well. And that gave me like immediate immediate boost. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. She was like, yeah, no, I really like the way you spoke. And I was like,
did she offer you the job?
She didn't offer. She was like, we haven't got a position for you. She was also hammered at this point. And but the fact that she recognized me and said that, the next day when I was like going back at it, I was like completely different. I was like, fuck yeah.
I'm the man.
And then eventually, I think from that, then got another position. And
that's it, man. This is snowball effect from there. And again, like if you feel more self-confident, you just like, yeah, I can do it. And then you just come across as a different person onto the next one.
Definitely. And I think for people listening that have trouble with self-confidence, it's like looking at the evidence that you have previously that stacks up in your favor, and look at your achievements and look at the things that you're proud of. Look at what it is that, like, even though that's something so small, I still look at that as a part, even talking to you now, like, that's a part of my growth as a person.
Mate, that story was fascinating.
Thanks, man.
I didn't even know you were so ballsy though. As in at that age, like I didn't even know you did that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was a weird. Even I look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I did that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it was weird.
But that's it. Like that's how you build character, I guess. Like just by bold moves, man.
Just being bold.
Yeah.
And it's about just going for it and just backing yourself. It will be fine. I think at that point in my life, I had no choice. I was like, I'm here.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's another thing. When
you put yourself in that position.
Fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
For the next episode will be. You got a secret question?
Yeah. Do you want me
to start?
I can go if you want.
Yeah, go on then.
What was the one thing in your life that boosted your self-confidence?
I think we covered that. Was martial arts.
Yeah,
It's
I was gonna say.
100%. Yeah, that's the key. That's the way. And for everyone that wants to boost their self-confidence, just start doing martial arts. In my opinion. What is the biggest insecurity that you have or had that kills or is still killing your confidence? And are you facing it?
The one insecurity that I have. Am I killing it? I would say the one insecurity. Well, I mean, I never feel good enough, even today. I never. There are moments where I have, and I'm like, oh, I'm really proud of who I am and where I'm at. But I would say, like, if I was to talk to my therapist, they'd probably be like, yeah, you're still very
Self-critical?
Yeah, massively self-critical. And I don't know if, like, I've never been the one to kind of pat myself on the back for my achievements, because I never feel like, and they're like, well, when is enough? When can you turn around and be happy with what you have? Because I don't, let's say, for example, I achieve everything that I want to. I think there will always be this gap between
what could have been.
What could have been, but like, there will always be more that I want. And I think that maybe I need to kill that a bit more. I need to check in with that a bit more and put it, and actually be more proud and happy with what I have and what I'm doing. But I also think that being self-critical feeds into the fire of me growing more and puts me apart.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Something you have to work on, I guess.
Great question.
My pleasure. So, yeah, I guess we'll finish the podcast with that confidence is something that you must have. It's not something yet. It's nice to have, and with all the more confident you become, the easier life will get, and it's all about building self-confidence and becoming a more familiar person with yourself.
For sure. I've always said to myself, how you do anything is how you do everything.
How you do everything, that's it. Absolutely. So yeah.
Nice one. Thank you so much for listening.